Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Monday, the 14th of September, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at the dollar index. This is my weekly, my daily, and my 60-minute chart, of course, my long-term, my medium-term, and my short-term view, with the corresponding point and figure charts and targets. This gives me a quick overview of any instrument just on all those time frames, so I can get a picture together. So here we see the dollar index is bearish below the cloud on all three time frames. So we're expecting another poor week for the dollar. We've really been in decline now for a good few months here on that daily chart. You see that, and we did have a little bit of a recovery last week, but we're back into bearish mode again this week. We do have a couple of downside targets, one upside target, so a little bit of a mixed picture, and we are just holding the long-term picture here, but there is a worrying downside target hanging over the dollar now. And of course this is euro dollar. That weaker dollar means euro dollar is stronger, and we're seeing here the euro is looking strong on all three time frames against the dollar. And if we look at this short-term 60-minute chart, we really see here we've got multiple upside targets and good support. We do have a couple of downside targets, but on the whole the upside should rule with that picture there. Taking a look at sterling had a bad week last week against the dollar. Fell away on Brexit fears. We see here just a series of days, and that big weekly candle, which corresponds to that series of 5 candles there, of course, and then 5 days of intraday movement. And we see that big candle is a really bad week for sterling last week. And if we look at sterling against the euro, equally we're much lower here, sitting at 108, coming back to test this 2019 low around 107. So we're bearish here, and we do have a downside target, so I'm 4% lower. And of course if we break to the new lows, we activate worse than parity, where sterling will be worth less than a euro. So really significant moves there for sterling. Taking a look at Bitcoin, it's sitting at $10,300. Not much change over the last few trading days, and of course we're seeing here the daily and the weekly charts are still looking okay, but we do have this downside target. If we make new lows, we activate that. So quite a volatile picture there. Of course the big thing this week will be how US stocks do. We had a bearish week last week and a bullish engulfing candle the week before. We are just seeing the uptrend of the last 6 months really coming under pressure. We can draw a trend line on there and just see it's really just coming under pressure, that trend of recent months. We are still bullish above the cloud on the daily chart, but the 60-minute chart is now bearish, so we're in bear mode there, so that's quite significant. Downside target of 12% if we go lower than the low that we saw last week, so that's going to be really significant as well. Taking a look at the Nasdaq Index, we're seeing here as well, we're just testing those new lows. We haven't yet moved enough to activate this downside target, but we have got lows here 5% lower, so the target's 5% lower, so it does look worrying for the short term for the market. And we're seeing the Dow is up, was up 0.4% on Friday, but again it's in bearish mode. The futures today are looking strong though, so we're seeing the S&P future up 1.26%. and we're seeing the Nasdaq E-mini up 1.4%, so it does suggest that we will see stocks bounce today. And we've seen the VIX volatility dropping away quite dramatically as a result. So remember, a falling VIX is good for stocks. That's just that the volatility of the market is lower. So we're seeing some respite there. Not much action in the UK today. The FTSE future down very slightly. In Germany, the DAX is up 0.25%, and the CAC Quarante is up 0.5%. European markets nowhere near making new highs, of course, and so we are still in a little bit in bearish mode on the CAC and on the DAX. We are actually back above the cloud. We are getting closer to a new high, but we're not there yet. Japan was up 0.75% overnight, so that's looking better on the short-term chart, and in fact is starting to look bullish on all three time frames. We've had a pretty tough few years in Japan, but we are just actually starting to see that look better. And the Hang Seng Index also has been pretty bearish, still not quite got above the cloud, so we are still in bearish mode there. And in China, the Shanghai Index was up overnight, but we are still just in short-term bearish mode. The Sensex in India is hovering, just made it above the cloud on the long-term picture, starting to look quite good there, but for the moment we are just in the doldrums a little bit on the index, and the Aussie market up 0.6%, but not enough to change the trend here, and we are bearish on that long-term chart. We haven't really managed to retrace there in that resource-laden economy. Looking at gold, we're sitting at 1945. We're holding on to short-term bullish mode here. We need to break to new highs to activate this big upside target, but for the moment gold is bullish. Silver is at $26.81 an ounce. That's also looking pretty bullish too. US 10-year yields have really not done very much at all over the last 6 months, sitting at 0.2%. Taking a look at the energy mix now, we've got Brent crude down 0.7%. If we go lower than this 39.50 level, we start to activate new downside targets. So that's quite key there. If we look at the 1 minute chart, we have got a mix of targets playing out here. But for the moment, this is a bearish chart below the cloud. We're neutral at the moment because we do have targets in either direction. But once we break below that 39.50, that's heading lower. And of course, the big one is we are actually just activating this downside target today to $30 for Brent crude on the 0.5% chart. So that is significant. We just need to keep an eye on that. Looking at the nat gas chart, we were bearish last week. We're seeing a lot of this recovery move, retracing. We've got a new upside thrust here. This will give us a target to the upside, but it's not locked yet. Coal is looking more bullish. It's actually just starting to recover on that 60-minute chart. It bounced on the daily chart, looking quite good there. Short-term targets to the upside. Not much to play for, but it is looking better. And the same with emissions as well. Emissions looking stronger as well, and this looking more and more like a consolidation pattern between the 25 and 30 euro mark. Once we break above 30 euros, we tend to make that same move again, so we will see a really key move there probably. MBP is up 1% this morning, UK gas, but bearish below the cloud with mixed targets. TTF also bearish below the cloud on the short-term chart. More targets to the upside, but again, it's flat this morning. It's a hard call at the moment with bearish below the cloud and targets to the upside, so we're neutral there. Winter gas actually is down slightly this morning, so that's not looking as good either. And if we look at German power, we are hitting the 42 mark this morning. Good upside targets here. Looks like we're breaking into a new uptrend on the 60-minute, so that's quite good for German power. Of course, the new high is really needed. That's what we need. A move above 43 would be bullish, and of course, above 43.70, making a new multi-month high would be our real key that power is going much higher. We've got targets suggesting that's going to happen, so keep an eye on the 1 minute charts. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.